trying to reset, okay.
You know,
He was directing.
he was
Okay.
directing
Action.
action. So, all motion, Paul, when we talk about this here, like a part of understanding, this is, again, like a trigger. When we talk about triggers, right? So if Joe is standing here, and I take a position from here, my trigger comes this way. So my trigger comes from here. So Joe's got to block. As he goes to block, this comes here and he goes to block. So I see this here. My trigger all moves here, you see? Boom! Now my trigger moved also with a double hand. So all these triggers move all from this point here. And it's the same thing with my knees to become a trigger points. So it kind of tells you where you're going to go. If he stands and I go this way here, my punch now is going to come how? Right? So how do you think my punch is going to happen from here? Come straight in, but it's not. The trigger here is going to move this way, my hands, and I'm going to move in here. So watch it slowly. It came here, moved in, and went this way. That's what whacked it in
Let's
the
see it
head.
again, this from here.
Right? So you could see that I just come in here and just do this here. It came, boom, and as it came around, it just followed his movement. So my trigger was from here. It's the same thing. That's what makes it so deadly, right? The hands, why they get deadly, and the legs, why they get deadly. This here acts as a trigger for you to make sure that everything is lined up so everything comes in together. So when I step out in this motion, if he takes a stance again, I step out in this motion, and if I take a long-range stance here, and here, you can see him a mile away, and I'm not doing this here to come in, to hit. All of this has to trigger this in. Now, if I'm stepping out here, this comes down, so this tightens up. Muscle memory tightens up, right? The chi is actually, and the electrical magnetism that you hit with by your biological chemistry that you all have, right, has to come in through everything being aligned, right? Which is all in nanoseconds, which is as you become better at it, you become a master at it, right? This here triggers here. I'm not just tighten up here, I'm not doing this. As I tighten this here, this pushes out, which allows me to turn my body and move it in a way that allows the hit to come in without doing this here and disconnecting all my energy. So if you have an extremely large man who's 280 pounds, he may be able to get away, you know, with hitting Joe this way here, but still, you see those guys fighting forever, right? Because they're pushing each other. They're not really making the contact point, hitting to that point and coming back. The punch pushes through. So if it's an extremely large person and he's hitting a smaller person, sometimes that smaller person could go flying, but the person still isn't knocked out. Comes up, picks up a machete and starts chopping up the big guy. It's just violence. That's what it's about, right? I've seen people get hit, smaller guys get hit, and just bounce off the wall and get up and pull out a knife and just cut the guy up. You know, so you don't want to push the hit. You want to be able to really have the hit explode. So if he's standing and I'm coming out with a whole idea of motion of my attack, right? If I take a position and I'm positioning here, you see you guys still feel like you have to reach. If my position is here, then I move this way here. So if I'm moving from this point here, my whole operation comes from here. It's not coming from here. And for some reason, when you guys punch, this is what you do. Everyone does it. That's not, it's just not acceptable. It's acceptable if you want to fight on the street. It's acceptable if you want to fight in the ring. It's acceptable if you want to do whatever it is that you're doing. But if you really want to understand the depth of what the art is, your body is that temple, and you have to understand what that is. That's what makes you different. It doesn't matter like you have to look this perfect or be this perfect image. What you have to do is you have to discover who you are and be able to present that. And we're all made up of the same material, unless some of you guys come from another planet that I don't know about. Some people think I come from another planet. Maybe. You know? But I'm teaching either way, right? So my Martian friends could be all angry with me, but too bad. So the whole point is that that's not true. That's only kidding. I forget this is on camera. It's a joke, right? Okay, who's an alien? That's all I need, right? So as you step out, all of your own body magic has to come into play. And you guys just don't. So all of you already have the talent. You just need to use your own body magic. You have to realize that your body is full of electricity. And that electricity has to explode. It's the electricity that allows you to communicate with yourself, that sends communications throughout your body. Your spine is key for that. If your spine and your heart aren't truly lined up, then you're never going to be able to cover the range that you want to cover. So if he's taking a fighting stance, and I say I take a fighting stance from here, so I'm not punching this way. So now we're in a traditional, I'm not stepping into the fight, we're here, right? We're facing each other, boom. Now it's obvious if he's punching me from, let's say with this hand here, go back. He doesn't have to reach as far. I'm smaller than him, I have to reach as further. But yet if we're standing here, he goes to punch, I can make him reach by just sinking down. I'm sinking down, I'm not reaching at all. Boom. So I just baited him into me. I baited the green giant into the little peanut, right? Made him come down. So that's where all that dragon technique comes in. If me and Joe are fighting and I'm here and I sink back, he feels he has to reach to come and get me. And all I have to do is just move, right? So all of a sudden then I can become bigger, right? So size has no relevance. And when these hitting powers, no matter how big a person is, it has no relevance, right? We're all made of flesh and blood. You hit with those shots, people are going to feel it. They're putting like little holes in you. And they create little shock waves throughout your system that make your brain feel that it's being threatened and it has to shut down. And that's a knockout. Or death, depending on what you do. These shots can stop a heart. So he's standing in a position. I take a position from here. Say I want to hit with this hand here. I'm not hitting this way. Don't block it, Joe. I'm not hitting this way. You see? Or hitting this way. When I come down, I'm hitting this way. So my hits are coming in this way as opposed to this way. My hit comes in this way as opposed to this way. So now it's because this moves. See, this is moving. So this is key, Paul. Am I explaining this better now to you? This pushes this, so all this comes down to happen. So as I step from here, I'm stepping from here, the power, boom! It comes in, it's coming in strong, there's no reaching. I'm just, bam! And I'm just going to be just tearing, his face is gone on that. So that's nice there too, because the guy's face is gone, that's a cool thing as well. But the hitting power from that doesn't break my hand, doesn't bury it, it pulls it back. And all of that's coming from your core. Now that same action also comes into being grabbed, being attacked, all of that comes in. And that's when I talk about visual. So if I'm standing here, it's like a lot of fights I was in where the guys come in those bum rushes and stuff, and they all get taken. It happens so fast. But by coring, everything slows down. And that's where you get into the matrix of it all. And that's street. And any experienced fighter, ring fighter, mixed martial arts will tell you there's a big difference between fighting in a ring and fighting on the street. We all know that. Unless he's a bonehead. Because you got to end the fight on the street. You can't, there's no time. It's in combat, you got to end it. That's why I like that one movie, Saving Private Ryan, with the knife fight and stuff in there. That's just great, because that's how people fight. All the action just disappears, and now it's just two people just fighting for their lives. So if I'm standing here and I move, and then as Joe starts to come in, he starts coming in for the grab. You're already tightening up. You're already coring down. All this comes in, and he comes in for that. Boom! All this explodes, and from there you start to move. So you start to see things differently. You start to view things differently, and that's where you start to generate the power. And I'm not a big man. It has nothing to do with size. It has to do with your electrical system, right? And all of this coming in to that main frame. Joe, you were explaining a book that you just read. What was the name of that book?
Power to the People.
And what was he talking about? He was talking about the core. He was talking about that core in there.
Yeah, it's a strange title, but it's a Russian strength trainer, and he says that the abdomen has pressure sensors called baroreceptors, and the more inter-abdominal pressure you can generate through your breathing and your compression, it sends impulses to the brain, making the muscles react more powerfully.